Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, Labour has plunged itself into yet more chaos over its leadership contest. Deputy Leader Tom Watson claimed that Trotskyists had infiltrated the party to manipulate new young members in an effort to boost Jeremy Corbyn's chance of staying in power. All this as Shadow Home Secretary Andy Burnham promised to win back the votes that Labour has lost, as he was selected to run as Greater Manchester's first elected mayor. We'll have more from him in a moment. But first, over to our political correspondent, Michael Crick, who's in Westminster. Michael.
Yes, Jackie. Well, until now, the relationship between Jeremy Corbyn and his deputy Tom Watson has been relatively cordial, even though Mr Watson a few weeks ago made it clear he thinks that Mr Corbyn should step down. But that cordiality has been bust apart today with stinging attacks from both sides, as Tom Watson used an interview with The Guardian to attack a large chunk of the Corbyn campaign and warned of Trotskyist interests returning to the Labour Party. He said old hands had been twisting young arms and that these interests do not have the best interests of the Labour Party at heart. They see it as a vehicle for revolutionary socialism and aren't remotely interested in winning elections. Now, Mr Watson made it clear he doesn't think that the bulk of the new members that the Labour Party has acquired in the last year can be described as Trots and Bolsheviks. Nonetheless, the Jeremy for Labour campaign attacked Watson, accusing him of baseless conspiracy theories and of patronising the members. Meanwhile, this was the scene of Andy Burnham hugging his parents this morning as it was announced that he had been announced as Labour's new candidate for the new post of Mayor of Greater Manchester, a new post that will come in from next May. Mr Burnham beat two other former ministers, Tony Lloyd and Ivan Lewis, got more than 50% of the vote. Not a bad achievement for a Scouser who supports Everton. And in effect, he will be elected Mayor of Greater Manchester next May. It would be astonishing if Labour were to lose in what's a pretty solid area for them. And it will mean a new career, really, for Andy Burnham. He'll have to give up his place as Shadow Home Secretary and give up his place as a Member of Parliament. Meanwhile, today it was also announced that Labour Party members in the Birmingham area had chosen the former MP and Minister Sean Simon as their candidate for the new mayor that'll be brought in there. And we'll hear tomorrow who Labour Party members in Merseyside have picked as their candidate for the new mayor.
Michael Crick, thank you very much. Kathy.
Thanks, Jackie. Well, earlier I spoke to Andy Burnham and I asked him, given that the government appears to have gone rather quiet on the promise of creating a northern powerhouse, how he hopes to revive the concept.
Well, I'm worried about that, and I've got a very direct message for our new Prime Minister today. You and your party have made a series of promises to people here in the north of England, and I am not going to let you walk away from them. You've promised people a powerhouse. I'm going to demand the resources and the investment to build it.
Of course, you can demand a northern powerhouse all you like, but you can't secure it unless you, as Labour, actually win an election. And if you look at the analysis from the electoral calculus, they say that Labour's got a 0% chance of winning a majority in the next general election.
Well, the first thing Labour's got to do is hold the government to account, and that's what I'm talking about, Kathy. They were wandering around these parts just over a year ago, promising the earth to people here. And they can't be allowed to walk away from those promises. But if they do, and Labour has properly held them to account, then that might change the outcome of the next general election.
OK, so straight question. I know you like to answer in a straight way, so here's a straight question for you. Do you prefer Owen Smith to Theresa May?
Of course I do.
So do you prefer Jeremy Corbyn to Theresa May?
Of course I do. But I won't be taking sides in this leadership election, because unlike the rest of the PLP, I'm in a different position, Kathy. I lost to Jeremy Corbyn last year, and coming out of that leadership election, I made him a promise that I would do what I could to serve in his shadow cabinet to try and unite the Labour Party. And I'm not the kind of person who goes back on things when I say them in that way.
Surely you owe voters to tell them what kind of politician you are, to tell them whether you back Jeremy Corbyn or Owen Smith. It's a simple question. You say it was the wrong time. Hang on a sec, you say it's the wrong time to have this leadership election.
Do you know what?
So that
I think
suggests that you're siding with Jeremy Corbyn. You can come clean now.
Do you know what I think people are sick of, Cathy? I think they're sick of politicians in Westminster pontificating and trying to tell everybody else what to do, who they should vote for. But what I would say is I'm worried about the process of polarisation that I see taking place in the Labour Party.
Aren't people also sick of politicians sitting on the fence, playing political games? I mean, I just quote to you Michael Duggar, the MP who managed your leadership campaign. He tweeted today, "What did I do in the war, son? Oh, I remained neutral." It's cowardly, isn't it?
I think the clue is in the tweet there, Cathy, talking about a war. You know, is that really what people want here? Is that really what they think is in the best interests of our party, talking about things in that way?
Well, whether you want it or not,
damage comes from that.
Labour
and in the
is
end,
at
if you're
war.
not careful, one side wins over the other, and that leads to split. Language like that, I don't believe, is helpful.
But you're in a
and I
leadership
think
contest.
the
One person
party-
has to win out of this, and you can't say which person you think that should be.
Well, I've been in a different contest, haven't I? And I also said to you before that I'm in a different position to the rest of the parliamentary Labour Party, and I would expect people to respect that. I've never taken part in the civil wars that we've seen in the party. You know, I didn't do that against Tony Blair, I didn't do it against Gordon Brown, I didn't do it against Ed Miliband, and I always put the loyalty, the unity, sorry, of our party first. So that's the way I've done my politics. If that doesn't fit with the London script and the way you want things to be, well, I'm sorry about that, because in my view, it's in the best interest of people here in Greater Manchester and across the northwest of England that we have a united Labour Party that is capable of becoming a government, and that's what I always seek to promote.
Andy Burnham talking to me earlier, and later in the programme we'll be discussing the rows in the Labour Party with both sides of the divide.
Well, back now to the latest row in the Labour Party. Tensions have deepened further today with Jeremy Corbyn's campaign accusing his deputy, Tom Watson, of peddling baseless conspiracy theories over infiltration. Labour's deputy today called for the reintroduction of elections to the shadow cabinet and the return of the Electoral College for selecting future Labour leaders, saying it's the only way to stop manipulation within the party. Jeremy Corbyn says the remarks are disappointing and the party should be focusing its energy on uniting to defeat the government. Well, joining me now is John McTernan, former advisor in the last Labour government, and Sam Tarry from Jeremy Corbyn's leadership campaign. Sam Tarry, Tom Watson has accused Trotskyist entryists of infiltrating the party.
I think that's the most laughable thing I've ever heard. I mean, I've known Tom Watson for over 10 years. He helped me on my campaign to be the first elected chair of Young Labour. I'm a local councillor. I was a former chief whip in Barking and Dagenham for 4 years. Hardly a Trotskyist entryist.
But there are former members of Socialist Workers' Power who are now inside Labour, and that's what he says.
There is absolutely
seasoned hard-left
nobody from
operators
any
twisting the arms of
fruitcake
young people.
organisation working on Jeremy Corbyn's campaign. At the end of the day, those people that don't support the aims and values of the Labour Party have no place in the Labour Party. And I think we're absolutely clear on that, and Jeremy's clear on that. I think Tom's really kind of gone off half-cocked on this one.
So do you not deny completely that any members of that would be regarded as Trotskyists have re-entered the Labour Party since Jeremy Corbyn became leader?
I think there have always been fringe groups in and around the Labour Party, but there has never, ever been more than a few thousand Trotskyists in the whole of the UK. So you're saying that 200,000 plus people? I mean, come on.
I mean, John McTernan, there is a point there, isn't there, that even the most ardent Trot wouldn't say that there are 600,000 in the country. I mean, what is wrong that the wider Labour Party looks incapable of taking on Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, look, there's no doubt in my mind there is organised Trotskyist infiltration. I spoke at an Alliance for Workers' Liberty, a socialist organiser, at one of their conferences recently, and speaker after speaker, member after member got up and said they were a member of the Labour Party.
You're not suggesting 600,000?
No, but you don't need 600,000 people to control a small organisation. What we're fighting in the Labour Party, and Tom pointed out, is a vanguardist approach, which is you grab the leadership, you use the leadership to drive the party in a particular direction. People flock to that. The people around Momentum, people around all of the fringe groups, they're in branches and they're in constituency parties.
So scared or look incapable of taking them on?
Well, the Labour Party made a foolish error when it created the category of supporters. The point of having a membership system is having membership rules, expelling people and keeping people out. I was there in the 80s. It took a long time to get rid of militant. It took a long time to get rid of socialist organiser. And it's a hard fight to get rid of the people who want to organise in the Labour Party. But the real burden of what Tom Watson said today, which is really important, is restoring power to the PLP, giving them the power to choose the shadow cabinet. If Jeremy comes back as leader, Jeremy can't be leader in the same way he has been before, failing in the policy development, allowing John McDonnell to undermine colleagues. So I think a shadow cabinet chosen by...
I would say this to John. I think, John, what they should start doing is not having advisors like yourself who've lost not only the Australian Labour Party elections, but also the Scottish Labour Party, a massive defeat there. Maybe we should actually learn something from the sort of campaign we're running, that hundreds of thousands of people want to get involved and actually take part. Ordinary people from working class communities across the country, ordinary people in places like Cornwall, hardly a Labour heartland. Perhaps actually there's something to be learned.
John Lansman, the head of Momentum, has said democracy is what's important. Winning is the small bit that matters to political elites. Is he wrong?
I think he is wrong, actually. I'm 100% committed to winning the next general election. I've never yet lost an election on my track record. And I think, actually, Jeremy, in terms of the policies he's putting forward and the strategy he's putting forward, is to use that growing and mass membership to reach out to communities where, unfortunately, John's friends failed them over many years. Those communities that are post-industrial and have been left behind for far too long.
What about the point that Labour is a parliamentary party and he does not have the support of his MPs? Does that not matter?
I'm confident that many people in the PLP, the sensible people, rather than the kind of rump of kind of quite bitter people, are going to come back on board and form a working and hard-nosed opposition to the Tory government. Absolutely. And actually, people like John have got a lot to answer for, encouraging them to split off all the time.
So it's your fault?
Yeah, look, the problem that Sam has is that the Corbyn way has delivered a 16-point lead to the Tory party. There is no chance of the Corbyn project being successful electorally. The Ed Miliband was rejected by voters because Labour was seen to be too left-wing. They gave the Tories a majority. 4 million people voted for UKIP because they wanted a centre-right government. The proposition that Labour should go more left-wing is a recipe for electoral disaster.
But isn't there a difficulty? Throwing around insults like trots may not appeal to people even within the Labour Party. I mean, Tom Watson has done that today, let alone appeal beyond the Labour Party. Isn't there an argument that you, Tom Watson, other people should accept that this is the new reality and create a new party?
Tom has got a mandate to be deputy leader. Nobody who voted for Tom to be deputy leader, as I did, thought that they were electing Bambi. He is a bruiser of a politician, and he'll say things in a very direct way.
John McTernan and Sam Tarry, I'm sorry, we're going to have to leave it there.
Thanks very much.
I've been